Alright, Dual Strike, let's crack you open and see what makes you tick, and more importantly, how we can make you better. Nerf Mega Dual Strike Mod Guide, go! So I've gone ahead and loosened all of the Phillips head screws that hold the Dual Strike together, and we can go ahead and butterfly it open, and immediately it becomes clear why this blaster is performing worse than the prototype. Somebody decided it would be a good idea to come in and drill holes all throughout it. So looks to be about a long shot size plunger tube, but it's only using about half of its effective length. Whose idea was this? This is so terrible. It also looks like each of these barrels has a hole in it that's in front of the ARs, so you're losing air pressure immediately upon getting the dart, like a centimeter out of the barrel. This is insane. So this should be a very easy fix. We're going to do some old school air release hole seals with some electrical tape, I think, and then of course we can't have a long shot size plunger tube and not do a spring addition. I even have some old school long shot springs that we can double up with. The catch looks solid. I like that the trigger is not on its own spring return, but friction and, or not friction rather, but torsion locked into here and returns via that. So I think that that's pretty cool. You can see the Smart AR system for both the Triad style system and then down here the Mega air delivery, and I think that this should be really simple, but I'm going to remove these two screws, pop the entire installation out, and start working on it. So after lots of custom E-tape work and a little bit of melting, this is what your internals should look like. You could also use duct tape. I prefer E-tape for these air release holes. I've been doing it for a long time with these, although I haven't needed to for a very long time now that I think about it. But there were two holes, one here and then one on the reverse side here, and so I cut to match there so that this is now a solid tube connecting to the Triad style ARs for the micros. Then there's two on the back, and then on the front you have to get these four barrels that lean towards this side. Then you get the stripes on this part of the plunger tube. I went two vertical, one across. I thought that was the most secure way to deal with this, and then there's nothing on the reverse there. Now, after trying a few different spring combinations, I decided that the original spring was in fact plenty of power. It's actually quite tough, and it has the advantage of not having to fool with the catch. I did not like the original seal though, so I've gone and done 3 wraps of Teflon tape. That's realistically somewhere between 2.5 and 3, but still, and I put the O-ring on back over that. I'll be using Orange ModWorks silicone grease to re-grease the plunger tube, but everything else seems to be operating smoothly. One thing that I didn't note is that in order to get this entire housing out, you have to come on to this side of the blaster, pull the screw that's on the switch, because it will not come through without that. So to put the blaster back together, you're going to have to realign that with, of course, the mechanism over here, how that works. So I'm going to put this all back together, then close it up and show you what it looks like and how it performs now that it actually is in a functional state. I still can't get over how many air release holes and vents there were in this blaster. So, never one to be left out, I did end up using a little bit of hot glue in this modification guide, just because I was losing more air than I was comfortable with in the seal. So I took my hot glue gun and ran a bead all the way through, then I wet my fingers in a little bowl of water and ran them around while the hot glue is still liquid. And so now it's got a perfect seal and will hold all of the air in. I might run over with just one strip of electrical tape over this just to give it some integrity and lock it on, kind of like an O-ring almost at this point, but I'm happy with it and I'm getting excellent air pressure through the entire system, and I think that it's going to be something really great by the time we screw it back together now. Hey guys, it's Drac, and there's that train in the distance that's decided it wants to be the permanent backdrop to my nerfing career, but this is of course the Mega / N-Strike Elite Hybrid Dual Strike Blaster, complete with its selector switch, and now has all of its air holes sealed up, its plunger tube Teflon taped, and then has been completely re-greased for superior performance. So now that it has all of the inner workings how they should be, and I'm fully ready to admit that some of these holes are exposed, and therefore just electrical taping them is not the cleanest solution, especially in the back here. This is not a pretty mod guide, but I didn't think about that while I was doing it, and I think that there are notable improvements to be made where you could do it with liquid or clear epoxy, which would be much nicer, but has the ability to break off and would be more difficult to service. So pros, cons, etc., but this is the modification guide showcasing that now that the blaster has been finished with its improvements, and we'll start with the elites here. It is, of course, performing much better. These are standard, well, it was. I wonder if that was just the bottom shot. I am, of course, using some very worn darts, so there's a possibility that that was just the issue there, but we'll fire 3 more elites through here. And it's firing the bottom one while it's going through. That must just be an issue with the AR. I have no idea why that's happening. I'm going to try and fire the bottom independently, and that's getting perfect performance. Very strange there. I'll have to troubleshoot that later, but we're going to do the megas now. And you can see that we're getting both superior and more consistent performance out of the blaster now. I can definitely see a world where a spring edition would be a wonderful complement to these modifications, but that is my mod guide for the Dual Strike. It highlights the inherent issues with the design changes of adding all of these air release holes. It showcases that the blaster is, of course, much more powerful than its stock form now that it has been modified, and is consistent, with the exception of this one AR. I might have accidentally opened that up in such a way that these two are firing at the same time. The Smart AR system is wonderful, but can be fickle at times. So that's the mod guide. I will be selling this on my eBay. It has been signed down at the bottom, but I think that the Mega Dual Strike definitely has a place in the modern nerfing world. I think it's excellent for scenario play. I think it's got a very aggressive front end, and it would be cool for a prop build. And ultimately, I think that it just does a good job at what it's trying to do, which is something unique for the current nerfing world, firing dual types of ammo and then allowing you to select between them in a very clean and consistent fashion. So I like this blaster. I think that this mod guide makes it very, very handy for Sambo style wars, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you want to tell me what my next mod guide should be on, I have a lot of blasters that I know I'm waiting on, but if you guys let me know what you're most excited about, I can focus on that. So eBay link in the description box below, as well as a link to the original review of this blaster in its stock form. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day.